Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we got to talk about more McMahon stuff. Vince McMahon apparently caught up in this whole embezzlement scheme, more lawsuit bait. But we also got to talk about Triple H assuming the controls of creative. But first we got to talk about Vince. So Big Daddy Boss Man, the warlord of all wrestling, Vince McMahon, has been apparently busted with his fingers in the cookie jar. The company comes out and admits $14.6 million went missing. It just disappeared. Where did it go? Is it under his mattress? Is it? Did he leave it somewhere in his pockets? Where did it go? So Frank A. Riddick of WWE, who is the chief financial officer, put out in the 8K filing that they put out, and pretty much everybody has seen it so far, but I'm going to read it for those who may not have seen it. I'm going to read it directly from the 8K filing. It says, quote, "The company has made a preliminary determination that certain payments that Vince McMahon agreed to make during the periods from 2006 through 2022, including amounts paid and amounts payable in the future that were not recorded in the WWE consolidated financial statements, should have been recorded as expenses in the quarters in which those agreements were made." So, to take it in bits and pieces, they are accepting that Vince McMahon made certain payments that should have been on their books. All right. So is this the non-disclosure agreement money? We don't know yet, but we're assuming that it is. And I think most people, if you look at all of the different websites in the world right now, everyone's assuming that it is. As continuing, as of the date hereof, the company has identified unrecorded expenses totaling approximately $14.6 million. All payments underlying the unrecorded expenses were or will be paid by Vince McMahon personally, meaning Vince is going to pay that money back. He's going to give the company that money back. While the company continues to evaluate the impact on previously reported financial statements, the company has preliminarily determined that while the amount of unrecorded expenses was not material in any individual period in which the unrecorded expenses arose, the aggregate amount of unrecorded expenses would be material if recorded entirely in the second quarter of 2022. So what they're saying is, over the course of 16 years, $14.6 million in company money has come up missing. $14.6 million will be paid back by Vince McMahon, and it is assumed by most people who have read this, some people who have far more advanced financial degrees than me. I took a class on budgeting. Okay, I took one class. I'm not an expert on this at all. So what they're saying is Vince is going to pay back the $14.6 million out of his own money, but that it should have been on the books of WWE. So the WWE is assuming some responsibility on this, and Vince will just reimburse them. But individually, the payouts would not have mattered that much to the financial documents of their particular time. So it's like $1 million here, $500,000 there, or whatever the case may be, would have been immaterial in the quarters that they were recorded in. But to take a $14.6 million hit and dump it into August 2022 would detrimentally affect the company's stock price and their position and everything. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to spread it out somehow. But they will end up factoring in that $14.6 million. So that seems to be where we sit currently. That being said, here's the kicker in the ass to me. It says, as previously announced, a special committee of independent members of the board is conducting an investigation into alleged misconduct by Vince McMahon, which investigation remains ongoing. So the investigation continues into Vince McMahon's alleged misconduct, but we did notice that $14.6 million came up missing. Now, this $14.6 million, if you're following along, is more than the $12 million that the Wall Street Journal claims they found in non-disclosure agreements. So this would assume, if this is the same money, and this is the debate I've been having and the conversation I've been having on Twitter with people, is the $14.6 million that Vince is going to pay back to the company in the what they call them, unrecorded expenses, are those the same monies as the NDAs? Because if they are, then the company found even more money than the Wall Street Journal did. That means during their own independent investigation, WWE actually found more money missing than the Wall Street Journal did. This would suggest, if it's the same money, that there are more NDAs, or at least one more NDA, because the NDA could be anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million. So we don't know. So it could be multiple more NDAs, or it could be one more NDA, but there's at least one more. That being said, that is also assuming that all of this money is the same money. Now, you may be saying, how could it not be the same money? Well, over the course of 16 years, Vince McMahon has had control of WWE's finances. If he had been using that money for various and sundry things, like, say, limos, dinners, yada, 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 over the course of 16 years, that may rack up to a significant amount of money. So it doesn't have to be a $2 million to this girl here, $3 million to this girl there. It could have been a number of smaller things, maybe buying gifts. Maybe he bought somebody a car. Maybe he did increase somebody's wages because they were, having sex with him. It could have been anything. So we're all assuming that this is the same money and that all of this stuff is going to overlap and everything is going to come out nice and crisp, and that you're going to find all of the non-disclosure agreements that's going to equal up to $14.6 million. That's what we're all assuming. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. All right? That's what I want people to understand. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It could be additional missing money, because we don't know what the hell they're looking at in that investigation or what that investigation is going to say. The investigation could find that maybe Vince did use his own money, all $12 million of it, and the company still was missing $14.6 million. And Vince has to account for that. We don't know yet. And because this information is coming in dribs and drabs, and because I'm not a financial expert, I don't know. I have reached out to some people who actually do this stuff. They haven't gotten back to me yet. If there's any sort of updates, I will certainly let everybody know. So we got to run off the information that we have so far. This is the thing about doing current events, is that you kind of have limited information. It's called information asymmetry. I can only disseminate the information that I have. I can't tell you what I don't have, but I can also tell you that I'm not going to misrepresent what I do have. And I know a lot of people are printing out that it's factually the same money, and I'm telling you, it doesn't necessarily have to be. I don't see anywhere where the company said, oh yes, this is all the same money from the non-disclosure agreements. Now Vince McMahon retiring also assumes that it's the same money, because people are looking at it and saying, why else would he retire unless he was using company money? So that's a good point too. That's a solid point to make. Why would he retire if he was using his personal money? Now, and some people will say the investigation will look into whether any of this stuff was based on coercion or quid pro quo or something like that, which all of that could be possible. It's hard to tell what they're going to find in this investigation, because oftentimes when you go investigating for something, you could, find things that you weren't looking for. So we don't know what they're going to come out with in this special board investigation into the company. We don't know yet. So let's just talk about the $14.6 million. Assuming this is all the hush money. This is awful. And this is not something you can laugh off, because this is not Vince McMahon's money. This is the money of everyday average people who believed and invested in WWE. and their stuff got taken, And I know sometimes people are going to think of and they're going to look at the investors and they're going to say, oh, it's BlackRock and yada, yada, yada. It's like, that's not the point. The point is that there is average Joes like you and me who tied up money in WWE and probably got fucked in this whole ordeal. That cannot happen. Him wanting to bang a paralegal, I can overlook that. Because if the girl doesn't want to be fucked, she's not going to get fucked, okay? One way or another, she's going to get what she's got. Either if it's through a non-disclosure agreement or through a lawsuit where she's going to rake in $30 million or some nonsense like that in a lawsuit or whatever. That's personal. It doesn't have anything to do with potential fans, potential investors, business partners, etc. This does. This is very serious stuff. It affects more than just Vince and one other person. This is not a personal issue. This is a public issue. This is public money or company money, right? You can't just overlook that. You can't sweep that one under the rug. Even though, and I think most people agree, $14.6 million is not a lot when you look at how much money WWE makes and how much Vince McMahon has. He can just individually pay it back. But it's not that simple. And I don't think anybody's going to lay down and let it just be, oh, Vince is going to pay the money back, so all is good. It's like, no, you can't. This is lawsuit bait, and this is bad public relations. Now, it's good public relations that they actually went and found out more money. The stock price has gone up. Part of it is, Vince is finally gone, and now maybe there's some trust in the company. Which is, been mired in trouble for almost a month now. So that's partially good. But I'm waiting for this special investigation to come out and for those findings to become public. That's going to be the big kicker. Because then we're going to find out who they interviewed or if they interviewed anybody, what those potential interviews, what that stuff is. Were some of these girls coerced? Was this stuff Vince McMahon's personal money coming from his personal account, or was this company money that the company should have been paying for, or whatever? Now, usually in a situation where you use the company card and you pay it back, you still can't do that. That's still embezzlement, right? You can't just, I'm gonna pay $500 here and I'll just pay it back later. You can't do that. You can't use company money on personal stuff. You have to use company money on company business. That's why, Vince could have had the company card or whatever and was doing little things here and there and just it added up over time. Because people do that. They take the girlfriends out on dinners, they pay for limousine rides, buy her clothes, jewelry, and stuff like that. Now that stuff is gone. You're not going to be able to account for it. So you're just like, fuck it, I'll pay it back. But it's not that simple. It's not that simple. And because we know, I'm just going to not say I'm going to project, I know how sugar daddies work. It's not just the sex. It's also the lifestyle, So it could be a thing where, yeah, Vince was having a sexual relationship with this girl, but he also was doing other things for her. Maybe the non-disclosure agreement is just her final payoff. We don't know how much money she accumulated throughout the entirety of the relationship. How much did it cost to upkeep this girl? Was he paying for her hair, nails, suits, clothes, jewelry? Was he paying for her to ride in limousines? Was he renting her cars? What else was he doing? Was he paying for her dental? Out of the company budget? Was he paying for yada, yada, yada out of company money? We don't know. And some of that stuff, you look at it, it's so small, you probably wouldn't notice it. But if he's been doing it for multiple women over the course of multiple years, that shit adds up. It absolutely adds up. It should take the average Joe should think about that. If you're paying for your girlfriend's hair and nails, you're helping her pay her rent, you're helping her pay the insurance on her car, you're helping her buy clothes, you're buying her groceries, you're taking her out to eat, you're taking her to the movies. It's hefty on a guy with an average Joe with an average paycheck. If you're a guy like Vince McMahon you probably wouldn't have even thought this was going to be that big of a deal. And it turns out that it is. This is serious go to prison stuff here. All right. Now, again, we're all assuming that this is the NDA money and that all of this stuff stems from the same poisonous seed, which is Vince McMahon inappropriate relationship with employees, which is entirely possible that it is. It's also entirely possible that it's something different. And I don't even want to venture an idea of what the hell that could be. But this is absolute lawsuit bait. WWE is going to be swimming with the fishes. I'm talking piranha everywhere. It's going to be all kind of lawsuits swimming out of this thing. And they absolutely expect it. That's why they put also in the 8K filing, the company has also received and may receive in the future regulatory, investigative, and enforcement inquiries, subpoenas, and or demands arising from, related to, or in connection with these matters. So they expect to be subpoenaed. They expect for lawsuits to be filed and for people to comb through their financial documents. They're waiting for this. There's going to be people who are going to be deposed. So we may not know the ins and outs of this thing for another 2 or 3 damn years. You know, it could be lawyers about to eat this thing alive. You know, so it's good that WWE, did their own investigation and found this missing money. That shows that the company is at least trying to be on the up and up, and that the only one that was crooked as hell was Vince. So it shows that Vince at least owned up to it and is willing to pay it back, even though I don't think it's not that simple. You can't just say, well, $14 million over 16 years. I'll just pay it back, pal. Here, take the money. I don't care. It's like, no, it's not that simple. It's not quite that simple. But ultimately, they're in a lot of trouble. Vince is in a lot of trouble. And if they find some real criminal stuff here, and they find out that he was using company money on these women, he's going to get arrested for embezzlement and fraud and a bunch of other financial crimes. And anything more than 10 years for Vince is basically a lifetime sentence, especially if he can't work out and stuff like that. It's going to be trouble. But this has been a very sad situation for me, because I'm a big Vince booster, but I'm not going to turn a blind eye to you getting over on the little guy and fucking over his money. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to that. I'm a supporter of capitalism. I'm not a supporter of fucking people over, lying to people about how you're going to use their money, or using their money for reasons that are not expressly already, agreed upon between you and the person who gave you money. I'm not about that, So if Vince has to take an L on this, he's going to have to eat the L. He's a grown ass man. He's the grownest of grown ass men. This dude started doing this shit when he was in his 60s. He was over the age of 60 in 2006, So, he had been running a company for over 30 years at that point. It's ridiculous. He knows better than this. Just like he knew better than to bang his paralegals and female wrestlers and referees or whatever the hell else he was doing, So he's going to have to eat the L, and I'm not going to be, standing in the way. Like, I can laugh at him having sex with, being a sugar daddy and wanting to have sex with young chicks, whether they be his employees or not. But I can't support this whole, we're going to, fuck over the investors' money. I can't do that. Fucking over the company and the company money, nah, B. You on your own on that one. So, he's reached my level of, I can't do it. And then we know that it happened because they're basically, admitting it. So it's also not something where that is, being whispered about by unnamed sources. This guy is the chief financial officer of WWE. He's already done the investigation. They put it out there in public that $14.6 million came up missing, and that Vince McMahon is accepting at least some responsibility for it by saying he's going to pay the money back. No good. Now, before we get to Triple H, we got to talk about this whole Shane McMahon thing. Apparently, it came out on the dirt sheets that Vince claimed that, Shane McMahon will never get another pop as long as he's working there or as long as he's in WWE because of how bad and how negative the Royal Rumble 2022 thing went down. Again, unnamed sources, backstage crap. None of that stuff matters now. I'm pretty sure, you're not going to, they're probably going to bring Shane back because the company needs all the kind of goodwill that they can get, which is probably, like the company is in such trouble right now because of all the Vince shit that they're probably going to have Shane McMahon pop up on Raw. They probably have him and Triple H in the ring, start a program or something like that. Who knows? But I can definitely see them bringing, some people in order to keep the fans distracted and happy away from this crap, because, and they're going to have to do a lot of it because the longer Vince is gone, though, the better off they are. Like, this is still top front page news because Vince is still top front page news. But in a year, it's going to be difficult to get people to care about this story again, because Vince is going to be gone for a while. It's going to be out of people's minds, so unless it's really another bombshell coming out, it's going to be hard to get people to care about this again. So WWE is smart to kind of get it out now, get out as much of it as they possibly can right now, take the hit to their public relations right now, whatever stock price they need to hit it right now, and then deal with the rest of it later, come out of the other end and not have to deal with this anymore. It's better off. Just do what you need to do right now. So let's talk about Triple H. In other news, Triple H has now taken over WWE Creative. Oh my goodness, let's talk about this. This is from another WWE piece of business here. It says, WWE executive Paul Levesque will assume all responsibilities related to WWE's creative, in addition to his regular duties. So now he's going to be head of creative and head of talent relations. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Look, I'm not thrilled about this. Not thrilled at all. I watched NXT. All right. This is a win for the internet wrestling fan who Triple H is going to bring back the black and gold, and his vision is going to be Raw and SmackDown. Look, the reason NXT worked is because it wasn't Raw and SmackDown. The reason NXT worked is because it had Raw and SmackDown to actually make the money. The reason NXT worked was because Triple H was put in a corner to do his own thing and was unbothered and didn't have to sell ad revenue, didn't have to make any superstars, not really anyway. He didn't have to sell any tickets. He had to sit in a small studio arena, Full Sail or whatever. He didn't have to sell out a 10,000 seat arena. He didn't have to do $1 million gates. He didn't have to run WrestleMania. He didn't have to work Raw and SmackDown week after week after week. The reason this worked is for all the reasons this probably won't work. You can't just say, oh, Triple H has all these great ideas. It's like Triple H taped NXT a month at a time. He would book NXT literally a month at a time. NXT, until it went on USA, was a taped show. It was taped like Impact. They would tape it in blocks and show it weekly. So this is Raw, live every single week. SmackDown, live every single week. This is a completely different beast. Triple H ain't never done this. He's been part of this because he's always been part of the creative structure. But he's never been the main guy in this situation every single week. He's never done this before. And when given the opportunity to do so, NXT, lost half its audience and had to move to Tuesdays? I'm sorry, bro. I'm going to have to put my hands up. Look. Look, when AEW came on the scene, NXT took a huge hit. NXT didn't work. And then even after it moved to Tuesdays, people still barely watched it. NXT limped and limped and limped until finally somebody decided, probably Vince and Bruce Pritchard, and Kevin Dunn, probably decided to just chop the head off the fucking thing and restart it as NXT 2.0. Let's get back to basics. And now you want to turn Raw and SmackDown into NXT? No, that's not going to work. That's not what people who watch Raw and SmackDown wanted. That's not what we want. We wanted NXT to be its own thing. Oh, NXT going to be like Ring of Honor with a bigger budget. Okay, fine. You can do that over there. I can enjoy that once a week, but give me my Raw and give me my SmackDown. Don't fuck with my WrestleManias and my Royal Rumbles with all your half pint midgets with no muscle definition. I don't need that. If I want to watch that shit, I can watch it on the network. I can watch it on Tuesdays. I can watch it develop, younger talent and understand that they're young talent and they don't really know what they're doing yet. They're trying to figure it out. I'll give you a break. All right, cool. Lower expectations when it comes to NXT. But Raw and SmackDown are completely different beasts. You cannot run Raw and SmackDown like he ran NXT. The only chance that he has is if he dips into the Vince McMahon bag and actually starts doing what Vince knows to work and not doing his own thing. If he's going to do his own thing and it's going to be NXT, then it's dead in the water. Raw and SmackDown is going to lose half his fucking audience in a year or something like that. We're talking about Raw with 600,000 viewers or some shit. I can see it coming. He's going to have to, maybe he's going to push the envelope a little bit. But then again, what was really going on NXT that made a major, major difference? Nothing. Not really. The biggest thing he did in the, I don't want to say, not the golden age of NXT, because that would be like the early days. But the USA Network era is that he brought in Pat McAfee. That was it. They went to 2 hours, and the biggest thing that he did was bring in Pat McAfee. That was it. Agreed. Sure. I know a lot of people are going to cape for NXT, and they're going to say, look, it was a pandemic. They lost a lot. Sure, that is the case. That did happen. They did lose a lot of viewers because of the pandemic. This empty arena wrestling. I get it. But I am not interested in Triple H trying to push the guys that he was pushing when he was running NXT. I just don't care. Is it going to be good for some guys? Sure. It's going to be better treatment for some guys, probably better treatment for the girls. Maybe a better tag team division. Sure. But creatively, there was nothing in NXT that was scintillating. There was nothing in NXT that was must-see. There wasn't a lot of drama. There wasn't a lot of, really deep and complicated storylines. It was just, hey, it's simple wrestling. It's 40 minutes a week. NXT UK is like that right now. It's a good show. 40 minutes a week, maybe an hour, maybe 50 minutes. Not that big of a deal. You're talking about booking 3 hours of Raw now. Good luck with that. 2 hours of SmackDown, in addition to NXT. Good luck. That's 7 hours a week. Now, Triple H does have some advantages. I'll give him this advantage. He doesn't have to run the company and run the creative, which is what Vince was doing. Vince probably would have been better off just leaving creative and going to run the company. But now we see, hell, he might have embezzled funds. Maybe that wasn't even a good idea. Maybe he should have walked away as CEO and just ran creative. But that was the big problem with Vince, because he was trying to do everything. He was trying to do everything, and that was a problem. That was a mistake. He can't have his fingers in every pot. You're better off hyper-focusing on one thing and getting really good at that. But Vince had always had a hand in creative ever since he took over the company, so it made sense for him to continue doing that. Triple H is now going to have his feet on two different wavelengths too, but it's all essentially the same thing. Talent relations, hiring and recruiting talent and then booking that talent, it's, pretty much the same thing. He's going to be good, and being able to focus on that is going to be a positive for him. But if it looks anything like NXT, which of course he had full control over, he was hiring the talent for NXT and he was booking them. NXT was able to work itself out of, the performance center and the small full scale audience. And so they were able to do a big arena once every couple of months, as long as it piggybacked off of whatever Vince was doing. As long as they piggybacked off of whatever they were doing, they did big business. I think they did one big show, maybe a couple, no more than 5, that were big shows that didn't piggyback off of what Raw and SmackDown were doing. Look, all I can tell you right now is, Triple H ran in the red for a long time. There was a long time NXT didn't make any money, and it was developmental, so it wasn't expected to make a lot of money. But now he's going to have, a bigger budget, which is going, that's going to be better for him. That's a plus in his column. But I'm not thrilled about this. Of course, like I said before, I'm not going to knee jerk and hate it. I'm just going to say Royal Rumble. That's going to be my time to look at things. That's what it's July. That's 5 months. Give them 5 months. Give them 6 months. If we can see through Royal Rumble, and if the creative has gotten significantly better, then fine. But here's the thing. Now that Triple H has taken over creative, where's Bruce? Because I heard Bruce was taking over. I heard Bruce was taking over in the creative of WWE. Obviously, that was false, because Bruce can't take over if Triple H is taking over. He can't have 2 bosses. So maybe Bruce is going to get sent home. Maybe Bruce is going to get kept in the position that he's in, and he's just going to have to report to Triple H or something like that. That sounds fine, whatever. I'm just not as thrilled about this Triple H takeover as everybody else. I'm not interested. To be quite honest, I'm going to watch the show anyway, but I'm going to give him the chance to prove me wrong. He's going to get to book all of Raw by himself. Vince is not going to be there. And they've had hours to put this together, which means he's had the entire weekend to put this together. So maybe this week or maybe next week will actually tell us what Triple H is going to start going and what direction he's going to go in. But it's certainly going to be after SummerSlam that they certainly are going to start going into the Triple H era. So whatever they had in place for this Monday and this Friday on SmackDown and at SummerSlam, it's probably going to be whatever Vince and all of those guys put together. And then after that, as we move into the next round of pay-per-view and television, it's likely where Triple H is going to really get his fingers in there and start doing stuff. Because you can't change things on a dime. I know a lot of people think that, things are going to change rapido. Things are going to change. It's like, not yet. Give it some time. And I think we'll have a full understanding and be able to return to this situation and talk about it more intelligently in 4 or 5 months. Again, give it till 6 months. I'm going to give it 6 months. And I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm going to give it time because I think that's fair. Vince wasn't going to live forever. And I do believe I was one of those people who said they didn't need to divvy up Vince's positions when he eventually died in the chair, but apparently he's going to get busted with his hands in a cookie jar. But they still did the right thing. They divvied up his spot. Vince's job could not be done by one person. It had to be done by multiple people. This was always the problem. Something was going to suffer because he was trying to do multiple things at one time. So they did the right thing by, splitting up his job to multiple different sectors. Triple H being the head of creative, I guess, is the best we could do right now outside of Paul Heyman. Bruce, I'm guessing, is still there. We don't know if Bruce is going to leave yet. There's a lot of people clamoring for Kevin Dunn to get kicked out. They even dragging up old interviews of him, apparently him talking bad about Becky Lynch or whatever. Like it matters now. Becky Lynch is one of the biggest stars in the company right now. So whatever he said about her 7 or 8 years ago is irrelevant, considering it didn't stop her from getting anywhere. It'd be different if Becky Lynch was fat and out of shape sitting on her couch somewhere and was like, I could have had a chance. I could have been a contender. But Kevin Dunn hated me. It's like, okay, well, she's driving around in a bus. She's showing up to the show, biggest star, highest paid female outside of Ronda Rousey. I think she did okay with herself. No need to sit around and talk about whether Kevin Dunn liked her or not. I think that whatever happened, it didn't stop Becky Lynch's success. So it is what it is. But let me know what you guys think about all of this crap. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.